down there, John?
Yeah, I'm here.
In the East River, 10 stories below. However, after a 3-day search, Webb's body has yet to be found.
Good morning, America. Welcome once again to the hardest working show on internet radio. Today I am your host, Christopher Mader, with co-host W. Peter Campbell, broadcasting live on the Northern Lights Radio Network. So be sure your seat backs and tray tables are in the upright position. Helmets and safety glasses are required. And if the content of the show offends you, call somebody who cares, because we are a no apologies radio station, the Meat and Potatoes Show. All right, here we go one more time. Once more unto the breach. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, everybody. Sorry I was off last week. I'm still clearing my throat here and there. I had one heck of a cough last week. It was just total, absolute brutality on my end. I couldn't even finish a sentence without erupting into some hacking, horrible cough. But it's been an incredible couple of weeks for the Meat and Potato Show and for me and W. Peter Campbell. We attended a great event the other night on bias and race here in Worcester, Massachusetts.
It actually had nothing to do with bias
absolutely nothing with bias and race, or even they morphed into better government, and it had nothing to do with better government.
They morphed into representative government.
I know, really, it was crazy.
So democracy.
Democracy, yeah. America is a democracy.
You're gonna love to hear what happened when Chris mentioned that we are a constitutional republic.
And what I'll be doing is I'll be reading from the diatribe a little later on. And here's the thing, I'll talk about it when I read the diatribe. There were two other writers here in our local city here in Worcester, Massachusetts, who were also at the event. And they also wrote basically plus or minus the same article, which I found absolutely amazing. You're talking about three different people who were witness to the same debacle that went on at that event. And I'll just list this right easily. One of the writers was a complete leftist socialist, Gordon Davis. The other guy is Walter Bird. He's a centrist liberal who writes for the Worcester magazine. And then there was me, okay? And so all three of us basically wrote plus or minus the same article. We didn't compare notes or anything. It's just that I saw all the other printouts that went on. And so I posted them on the Meat and Potatoes Conservative Media Network page, and I was just amazed. And we've got a couple of the hard copies of the Worcester magazine. We're going to go through that and read some of that later on tonight, and we'll play some of the archive. Wait till you see what happened here. The entire thing was an absolute debacle. But anyway, calling into the show, as always, great guest to have on, running for president in 2016, our good friend from California, John Albert Dummett Jr. John, how's it going tonight?
Howdy, folks. Yeah, hey, I'm still healing up, getting better every day, getting stronger every day, making plans, getting ready to really hit the hammer here pretty quick.
Good for you, good for you. Hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Clinton Slave Market Foundation, and that's exactly what you have to call it. Right, exactly. And, people are starting to ask, and in fact, I hadn't thought of that too. People are starting to ask, it's like, why is this woman running? I mean, what is her plan? What is her idea? And
it's my turn.
I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's a really good question. It's like, why is this woman running for president? Go ahead, John. And how are you tonight? Go ahead, take it over.
Well, like I said, I'm doing great, but I can give everybody in a nutshell exactly why Hillary Clinton is running, and it goes all the way back to when she was a youngster of about 16, 17 years old. A little bit of history for people. Hillary Clinton was mentored by Saul Alinsky.
Yes, correct.
And if people don't know who Saul Alinsky was mentored by a guy named Mitty. Mitty was the capo for Al Capone. He was the right-hand man for Al Capone.
Yes.
And Al Capone was setting up a system to where he could control the government in order to allow his criminal regime to continue onward. Well, Saul Alinsky figured out, hey, I can apply this towards our federal government, our civilian government, and be able to control the government the way we want to. And so he saw in Hillary Clinton, and a lot of people don't realize, she was a very Goldwater Republican, staunch Republican. And he got her when she was really young and all starry-eyed. And for some reason, he managed to sway her to using criminal tactics in order to gain control of the United States, in order to turn it into a socialist government, in order for them to do whatever they wanted to do criminally, or what we would consider criminally. And matter of fact, she was the one that actually figured out how to implement it. And of course, our great pal and usurper-in-chief, Barack Obama, figured out how to do it, and he actually did implement it.
Exactly.
So we're at the very end of what Hillary Clinton started. She wanted to be president ever since day number one. It goes all the way back to Al Capone and organized crime.
That's true. Wait, go ahead. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, John. Look back on the United States, American teenage women. What is the main motivation of any and all teenage women over the decades? The almighty greenback. The more greenbacks you have, the more greenbacks you throw at them, the more you can make them do. So they turn around and they throw a few 100,000 at Hillary, and then turn around and she's going and trying to deny President Nixon any counsel, and he gets fired from that commission because of unethical behavior.
Right. Well, Hillary Clinton did a job with Richard Nixon. A lot of people don't realize. You ask yourself, what did Richard Nixon do? And he did what most people will do, and that will, kind of cover up for people that are his friends. So, I mean, what he did in comparison to what Hillary Clinton has done is exponential. I mean, Hillary Clinton has got at least 20,000 different counts against her right now for this, this crap that she's got going on. Let's see what we got going on with my. Yeah. Anyway, but we have nothing but to blame for ourselves for everything that's gone on. We've allowed the liberals to slowly but surely destroy our Constitution, and we've completely turned it around. I mean, you can go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln if you want to, but in modern times, the ones we really have to blame right now.
Hey, if you go back to Salem, Massachusetts, they would have burned that woman at the stake.
Really would have. I mean, a lot of people like to see her burn at the stake right now.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah. Well, hey, look. If you want a criminal running our White House, go ahead. Vote for Hillary Clinton. I've talked till I'm blue in the face about these crooks. I've tried to expose them. I've done everything in my possible power, to expose Barack Obama. I've been to court several times. A lot of people are getting to know who I am. Things are catching up, but if I can't get people out there, to start helping me out, it's all academic. We will lose our republic. It will be a foregone conclusion.
I think
it is almost there right now.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think we're there. I think we're there. I actually think we're there already. I think this is why somebody like her is running for president. I mean, we can look at the Republican side, and I know you and I have had many arguments about the eligibility of some of them, and we're not going to discuss much of that tonight. I want to talk pretty much about the other side. I mean, we're throwing up Lincoln Chafee from Rhode Island. We're throwing up Bernie Sanders. Who's the other guy? What was the other guy?
Lincoln Chafee, Bernie Sanders, and one of Hillary's closest confidants that was involved.
Yeah, I forget the name there.
Publicly.
I don't know. I think these people are plants. I think they're just thrown up there to give the illusion that, oh, look, we have a choice, when in fact you really don't have a choice.
The only one I don't see, is the most reluctant one so far, and there are 325,000 signatures already that Elizabeth Hiawatha Warren has.
Yeah, but she
to
said
get her
she's
to
not.
run. But she's too much of a coward to run against Hillary Clinton, and she will do the same thing that Hillary Clinton's going to do, and that's just continue Barack Obama's asinine policy.
Hey, listen, John. If things keep going the way they are in the press for Hillary, I mean, we've got Benghazi, we've got the emails that she's erased, and of course there is all the rest of the skeletons that are sitting in her closet. At some point in time, do you think this is going to catch up to her? And is it going to matter? At some point in time in the middle of 2016, is it just going to become so overwhelming that it just... Yeah, it does. She either drops out.
She strokes out because of it.
Look, folks, and I'll tell you this right now, and you can say you heard it here first. Hillary Clinton will not be the next president of the United States.
Thank you
I
so
don't think
much,
so
John.
either.
Thank you so much.
Let him finish.
Yeah, and it's not anything that I'm going to do or anybody else is going to do. It's just she's already cooked her own goose.
Yeah, right.
You know, you've got Benghazi, you've got Vince Foster, you've got, you know, like you said, these emails.
emails, right.
You've got Benghazi, you've got Waco, you've got Ruby Ridge, you've got the appointment of Janet Reno, her girlfriend, you know, to the FBI there. And look.
And Yoko Ono now too.
Well, the one thing that really got me most of all is when she had the unmitigated gall to call a cabinet-level meeting when she was First Lady to discuss this Obamacare or nationalized health care crap.
Right.
And of course, she was shot down quicker than you could say Jack Daniels. But Hillary Clinton really, I don't know. I'm telling you right now, from everything that I know, I am not positive who the Democratic nominee is going to be, but I am certain of one thing: it will not be Hillary Clinton. First of all, use logic. We're not going to elect another minority. Call me racist if you want. We're not going to elect a woman again because we're not into electing dynasties if we can help it. The Bushes are out of it. We're done with having Georges running this country. You know, we got rid of King George in the 1700s. We don't need another king. It's not going to be one of those guys. But what I do fear more than anything is it's going to be a candidate that isn't a staunch constitutionalist, and all they're going to do is continue on with the oligarchy that we've got in place right now, and it'll just be business as usual.
Right, but the business is failing. This is it. I mean, you know, they say, oh, we'll reach $20 trillion in debt by 20 whatever. We're already there. You know, it's kind of like how they fudge the unemployment numbers. They say, oh, no, it's only at 5-point-something%. No, it's at like more like 26 or 25, 26 or 27%. No, it's a lot higher than that.
$236 trillion in unpaid.
Well, guess how much it really is.
$236 trillion.
We're talking, yeah, the unfunded liabilities. Hell, in Worcester alone, we've got something like $100 million in unfunded liabilities, just in this small city alone.
Here's a simple fact, folks, and a lot of people don't realize it. We get our money from the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank is unconstitutional. It's funny money. It's imaginary money. The debt we owe them is imaginary. So as President of the United States, I grab out my imaginary pen and wipe it completely out and say goodbye to the Federal Reserve.
Hoorah.
And implement what the United States Constitution says, and that is that the federal government will coin money, and it will be based upon something of intrinsic value, which is gold.
Right.
And look, John F. Kennedy got killed 2 days after he signed. A lot of people don't realize John F. Kennedy ended the Federal Reserve. 2 days later, he was shot in Dallas. Okay?
That's right.
I'm going to do the same thing, except I don't plan on riding any limousines that have an open roof, and I plan on hiding down there in the bowels of the White House until this gets all cleared up. Until we get rid of the Federal Reserve and somehow figure out what we're going to do about the 16th Amendment, what we're going to do about getting rid of the IRS, and finally getting our economy on the proper track, we're doomed.
So basically, John, you're on my level of thinking. Is that the President of the United States should never leave the Washington D.C. Beltway unless he's taking a hiatus to Camp David, and that's it. That's it. It's as far as you go. You don't go traipsing off to Hawaii. You don't go traipsing off all the way around the world. And if these idiots that aren't even supposed to have embassies on Embassy Row or at the UN want to come and see you, they come to Washington and they get United States.
I can agree with Wayne on that. Yeah, this is the thing. You want to negotiate with the United States, you come here.
Yeah.
You come here and you have United States Marines as armed guards, and they will take care of you. And then, just like the president and then the other ambassador.
Well, Chris knows on my platform is one of the major issues is getting aboard a D-12 Caterpillar and scraping off the UN right off.
A D-12? How big is that? Because I was thinking we would have to build the world's biggest bulldozer and push that right off into the Atlantic pond.
Hey, imagine the jobs it would create. That would be incredible.
That would be fantastic as a first job creation build. Hey, I need people to build the biggest bulldozer in the world so we can push the UN off into the drink. We'll give them 30 days. Pack up your stuff and go over to Dubai.
Give them 30 seconds after I'm inaugurated. It's not going to be a big surprise that I want to end the proxy organization that just stomps the United States into the ground.
And every other country on earth.
The thing is a proxy organization to call us a bag full of you-know-what and get away with what they want. We owe them nothing. This is the United States of America. We know no other country anything. It's only up for us. We're in it for ourselves, okay? If we feel like we need to go out and take care of other nations, fine. Let the American people dig into their pockets if they want to, and let them go ahead and send whatever money they want. But it won't be one federal note that goes over to them, signed by the President of the United States. It won't happen.
Let's move on to some other international affairs, since we're on that same thread. I mean, we've got ISIS now pretty much taking over Iraq. The Iraqi forces have cut and run, despite all our billions, trillions spent in their training. They cut and run. They're taking over Iraq. We see this bizarre thing going on where we have, young people around the world, but more frightening here in the United States, joining them, and like they think it's like some big wonderful party to go and join. It's how big is this threat, and what is wrong with our policy? Well, I know it's a rhetorical question. I know what's wrong with our policy towards them, but go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say about this.
Well, it's a simple solution beyond all belief. Any American that decides to pack up and go fight for ISIS, they lose their United States citizenship, and if they come back over here, they're an enemy combatant and they'll be shot on sight. That's the first thing that'll happen. No more forgiveness, no more coming back to the United States. You don't like it here? Get the hell out of here, see you later. We don't want to be bothered by it anymore. If ISIS becomes a threat to the point where it impinges upon the insecurity or any of our liberties and freedoms in this country, I'll turn them into a parking lot.
Okay,
that's the end of it. There will be no more threats to the United States made, and whatever they hold dear to themselves, I'll flatten. Smack them. I'll flatten.
Whatever
needs to be flattened for them. Go ahead and do what you want to do over there. Leave us alone. If you threaten us, you'll pay the full route.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is why don't we have this gumption anymore? Why don't we have a president or even a senator, anybody saying, "Yeah, you screw with us, we're going to turn you into a parking lot"? Well, I mean, where is that?
We have a federal nation full of cowards. I've called it to their face. I've talked to them on the phone. I listen. A lot of people think, "Who is this John Dummett? I've never heard him before." Would you believe me if I tell you that everybody in Washington's heard of me, and they all know what I think about them? Like, I'll just use Colonel West for one example. I talked to him personally on the telephone, and I said, "Hey, you know Barack Obama's not eligible to be president of the United States. You're a black man. You're a high-ranking, military official. Okay, do me a favor. Why don't you get together and stand up and speak out against this man, and let's get rid of him. Let's bring this back to a constitutional republic the way we are." And he flat out told me, he goes, and this is paraphrasing, because it's been a while since I've talked to him. It's been at least 5 years. But he says, "John, I got to tell you, I want a political career, and for me to do that would be tantamount to political suicide. So therefore, I'm not going to say anything about Barack Obama." And I said, "Well, is that a fact?" And I said, "Well, then to me, you're nothing but a coward."
Well, there you go.
And when I said that, then of course the conversation turns to, "Well, I'm not a coward. We've got, we have things that we have to do." And I said, no, we don't. We owe the United States people. We owe the people of the United States their security and their safety, and to make sure whoever leads them as a United States citizen, not as some proxy to some other government that is trying to destroy us.
And he knows his own.
Whether you think you're a coward or not, and you say what you say, and if people want to think you a coward or think you a nut or whatever, then they don't have to vote for you. But it's not on your belly, right? What do I have to worry about? I said my piece.
Yeah, you stood up for your principle, right?
Okay? And when I called him a coward, you can't believe. How dare you call the major a coward? He's such a great man. No, he's not. He's a coward.
John, I can tell
He
you.
will not stand up for the people of the United States.
I can tell you where that comes from, because it's okay. Like all general officers in the United States military are basically politicians. All right, and they're trained to be politicians and work with the government. After, all right, now being a lieutenant colonel is a senior officer. And a major is a is the highest ranking junior officer. Now, when he made lieutenant colonel and he turned around and made that statement, he technically violated his oath of
His
office.
oath of office, that's right.
And I say he actually de facto violated.
He did. He de facto violated his oath of office, and it was for political gain.
And that's an act of treason.
And that is an act of treason with any. And John McCain has done the same thing. John McCain had a father and a grandfather that were admirals in the United States Navy, and they whitewashed everything he did. He was a maverick. He destroyed a plane. He almost sunk a ship in Vietnam, and all the rest of that stuff. And they let him get away with it because he was the admiral and the admiral's grandson and son.
Well, I can clear up a little bit there on John McCain, because I have a little bit of personal experience with John McCain. Yes, he is a Navy brat. Yes, he was in the Navy. That Sidewinder missile that launched off his airplane wasn't his fault. But he did do a lot of weird things while he was in the Navy. As a matter of fact, when he was shot down in Vietnam, a lot of us that were living in Coronado at the time, that's San Diego, where the home of the Pacific Fleet is located. I wore his bracelet, his POW bracelet. And, I never did ever think that John McCain was this great hero, because he went to the Hanoi Hilton and, he lived there for a while. There were a lot of men that went to the Hanoi Hilton
and nobody cracked.
That did not give up secrets
Right.
about the United States. John McCain did. Listen, I don't blame him for it. The man took torture like you can't believe. But the thing about John McCain is, he is not presidential material. Neither was Sarah Palin. And we were set up.
Neither is John Kerry.
We lost it.
Okay, let me back up a little bit. I actually want to go back to what Wayne was talking about and what we were talking about violation of constitutional your oath that you take. Great author that I interviewed a couple of weeks ago. Patrick Wood, in his book Technocracy Rising. He covers a subject very rarely known. I did not know this myself until I read this book. Not only have these people violated their oath of constitution, they are also guilty of a crime called misprision. And let me spell that. Hang on, John. Misprision. So I'm probably pronouncing a misprision or misprision. Misprision. Okay, let me read it. Is a legal term that generally means failure of a public official to notify certain other officials when a criminal law has been broken. And let me clarify. Patrick Wood goes on to write, whoever having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony cognizable by a court of the U.S. conceals and does not as soon as possible make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the U.S. 18 U.S.C. misprision of felony is the like concealment of a felony, without giving any degree of maintenance to the felon, for if any aid be given him, the party becomes an accessory after the fact.
Which goes
everything.
Under complacency, and it goes under complacency, and it's also written in the UCMJ in the same manner,
right,
in almost the same exact.
In other words, what Patrick Wood is writing in here, it's a very obscure, a very unknown law. That we were just talking about, these violations of the constitutional oath. Yes, we can talk, oh, they violated their oath. Somehow we always seem to pass that by. But then other people are coming to these elected officials and saying, wait a minute, that's a violation. Aren't you doing something? Well, you just said it. Alan West didn't, he says, no, I've got a political career. Alan West knew that this was going on. And as an elected official, as somebody in a position of authority, has the constitutional duty to report this violation, regardless of his career. Who cares about his career? But he did not. Therefore, as Patrick Wood says, he becomes an accessory after the fact.
And that's also why I think Barack Obama has dismissed at least
he's fired all the generals.
Almost 24 generals that could have had him in shackles, sitting there at Gitmo, wondering where or what is going to happen to them next. And as far as I'm concerned, we should go back to public hanging.
And here's the other thing. Is that these generals that got fired could also be held accountable under this misprision law, because even though they're fired, even though they're I'm not a general anymore, they know that this is a violation that's going on, and they're not doing anything about it. Listen, John, Cody Judy Robert, you know him. You filed with the Supreme Court. Cody Judy is filing with the Supreme Court. Take it from here.
Well, I know that my case is still before the Supreme Court. It has not been dismissed like a lot of people might want you to think it is. They just didn't happen to take it as one of the two cases that they actually took. They could open it up, anytime that they want. We're still hoping that somebody will, come to their senses and understand that our republic is just about ready to take a dump, and if we don't do something about it, we're going to lose everything that our founding fathers fought so hard for, and everybody that ever got shot, killed, put in prison, whatever, fought so hard to fight for the rest of us. It's going to happen, but yeah, I wish them all the luck in the world, but it's kind of funny. Right after I got out of trauma surgery, I was 5 days out of the trauma surgical unit, and I took a trip down to Bakersfield. And the guy that gave me, I was giving a speech at the Bakersfield Tea Party. I don't know how I managed to do it. I had to drive 500 miles each way. But at any rate, I was talking to him, and he kind of said, hey, John, he said, you'll find this kind of ironic. He said, but my case is before the Supreme Court right now. Now, his case had to do with farmers' rights and, the California agricultural system. And I'm happy for him that he got it, that he's getting his actual day in court, but I don't see where some farming issue in California takes precedence over an issue that is going to destroy our republic if we don't come to some sort of, agreement of what we're going to do about it right now.
Well, I think he's. It sounds like he's lumped in with a lot of other people that are filing lawsuits against the federal government. The point I was saying.
There were 200 cases and only 2 got heard.
Wow.
I just saw a post. A post recently, actually today, that the Supreme Court is taking up Obama's eligibility, and it's going into committee with the justices now. It's scheduled for the 15th of July.
Yeah, well, this is from the horse's mouth now, and of course, I'm not at liberty really to say what is going on, but I can corroborate what you're saying. And if America knew that it was John Albert Dummett Jr. that was responsible for it, I would be the leading presidential candidate right now. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how many times you've all been disappointed. I know I brought 7 cases against Barack Obama. All 7 were not dismissed based upon the merits of the case, but just for no reason at all.
Yeah.
They never even looked into anything.
Again, let me get back to what I was just saying. Misprision. These people all know this is going on, and no one's doing anything about it.
And that goes back to the entire House of Representatives and the Senate
the Supreme Court. They all need to be arrested. Everyone.
They are all complacent in allowing this person to sit in that Oval Office for the last 7 years without doing something about it. Without hearing one single case from start to finish, and then making a determination on his eligibility from the get-go.
And I think part of the problem, what we see out there, is we see these people, we see in the press, and we hear from different constituency groups that, those birther people, here we go again with another lawsuit. And I think that's part of the game that gets played in the media, and the game that gets played in the public, that, these people are crackpots. It brings me back to what I said earlier about this thing about misprision, is that I didn't know about this. If I didn't know about this, and I read all the time, I have to do the show. John, I do a ton of research.
I know
But I didn't even know about this. So if I didn't even know about this, can you imagine what the rest of the American public don't know about this?
They don't. I try to educate them all the time, and they look at me with, glazed over eyes, and they don't have a clue. I keep trying to tell people what we are run right now. The United States is an oligarchy.
Right.
We do not have Republicans. We do not have Democrats. What we have is a system of government where they play tag team. And when the Republicans get through running their run, they tag the Democrats, and you're it. And then we go on to with what the Democrats. But it's all designed to do one thing, and that is for this one world government, which is not.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a conspiracy fact. And what they're trying to do is get a small group of people together that will run everything while the rest of us are slaves of the system.
And
that's all there is to it.
And it goes back.
How many times have we heard this? How many times have we heard this from so many different people?
And it's not even that we've heard it so many times. We're going to get Patrick Wood, author of the book Technocracy Rise. We're going to get him back on. He sends me feeds all the time. We got to get the guy back on. Because even this thing that we attended the other night in Worcester, as I'm watching it, as I'm listening to it unfold, and I remember the handouts that they gave us.
Exactly.
All of that, it's all designed to be information gathering. It's all designed to be prescribed talking points and to steer the public. And then when you give these prescribed talking points, and the public gives their prescribed responses. That's all data-based. It's all gathered in.
The group that Chris ended up with the other night at this open forum, at this public forum, okay, when he sat there and said that he had an issue with the definitions that they were working with on that were all falsehoods. Every single one of them was a falsehood, and it wasn't what we were taught in school. Anybody that's over 35 was not taught that in school. These definitions in school, and I swear Chris got up just to get away from the group for a few minutes, so none of them would have a cerebral hemorrhage.
Exactly.
They looked like they were all going into an epileptic seizure.
They were, and wait till you hear the diatribe I'm going to read a little while later. Here's one of the things that they had talked about. City of Worcester Community Dialogues on Race and Bias. At the very top of the handouts, and listen folks, anytime you attend these things and they give you handouts, you know you're instantaneously in trouble here. Representative government has historically denoted a system in which people elect their lawmakers, representatives, who are then held accountable to them for activity within government. From the Dictionary of American History 2003. Now here's what I said. I said, listen,
to look up in an old book?
I said, listen, that's from the Dictionary of American History 2003. That's an updated, redated, rewritten, revisionist history version. The corrected version. They're all looking at me, and I said, they said, well, what, you don't think we're a representative government? I said, no, we're not a representative government. We're a constitutional republic. And we are ruled by the rule of law and the respect of minority voting rights, i.e. the rights of the individual. John, you should have been a fly on the wall. It's like their heads almost exploded. It was unbelievable. I said, hell, the Soviet Union even had a representative government. It was called the Politburo. Is that an example of good government? John, take it from here.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I sat there, and, I've told people a million times that we're a constitutional republic, and that they serve at the behest of the people, and it's all geared towards individual liberty and freedom. It has nothing to do, it has nothing to do really with the group. It's for the individual, is what this country was built upon. It's leave me alone. Let me live my life with my God-given rights, and we will allow you guys a certain amount of control in order to make sure that business gets done, like the toll roads stay open, trade agreements get made, war breaks out, you can arrange for, battle or whatever for that. But it's very limited in scope in what the government can do. We've allowed the federal government to take over power. We fought that battle. It was called the Federalist Papers, and we were deciding whether or not we wanted a federal government or we wanted a state government to where the individual was in charge and not the federal government. We won that battle, and of course, in 1861, when we decided that we did not want to belong to the Union anymore, the federal government said, no, you won't. You are going to remain a member of the Union, whether you want to or not. And then that's when all hell broke loose.
And that was Lincoln's tyranny.
The Emancipation Proclamation and the whole 9 yards.
The suspension of habeas corpus, and that was Lincoln's entire tyranny.
Yeah,
that's why Lincoln wasn't a good president.
The first president to issue executive orders that dealt with people outside of the White House.
That's right. Now here's the thing. At that group, what they did is after they were done with their initial speeches and everything, they said, okay, we're going to divide up into groups. Perfect axiom of the federal government. Divide and conquer. So we all got divided into groups, and I was going to sit down with the group. I sat around with about 12 people, and I was going to film what everyone was saying. Instantaneously, two people said, well, I have a problem with filming. Okay, so this is where I saw that weird, bizarro world dichotomy thing going on. And just hear me out here, then you can take it over from here, John. So I'm sitting there, I was like, so wait a minute, so this is a public forum. I had said that. It's like, yes, well, some people have trouble with being filmed. It's like, then don't show up at a public forum. This is a public forum. We're supposed to be here at the public. And the public has a right to know. The public that cannot attend has a right to see this on film or hear it on a recording. Well, some people have a problem being on tape. I was like, okay, so here we are. You know, these people are talking about how they disagree with me about we're a constitutional republic and we're a representative government, and they started talking about, no, we're a democracy, we're a democracy. Okay, so wait a minute, we're a democracy. In your minds, we're a democracy, but yet these two people say, oh, we don't want to be filmed, so ergo, you're referring to your own individualism. Ergo, you're referring to a constitutional republic. Oh, no, we're not a constitutional republic. Yes, but it doesn't matter. In fact, here's the rub. Here's where it hit me in the craw. One of the guys said, well, why don't we take it to a vote? It's like, there's 12 of us, and it's like, I don't have a problem. I got other people, I don't have a problem being filled. I don't have a problem being filled. I don't have a problem being... People were like, I don't have a problem being filled. Well, let's take it to a vote. Oh, no, we don't want to do a vote. Oh, so here we go. Okay, so A, we're supposedly a democracy, therefore majority rules, and then when we go to have a vote, knowing that you two people are going to lose, oh no, we don't want to have a vote. This is what liberalism is. We want to have our cake and we want to eat it too. Either we're a constitutional republic, and then I would have to respect the rights of these two individuals who don't want to be filmed, or we're a democracy, which all of you just got finished saying that we are, because you disagreed what I said about being a constitutional republic. And then this other guy who says, let's take it to a vote, and knowing that there's like going to be 9 of us who say, yeah, I don't care being filmed. Yeah, let them film. It's
Now
like,
tell 'em who-
I mean, to be honest with you, my head almost exploded.
Now
I
tell
couldn't
'em-
figure
now
out
tell
what
'em who
the,
the
I couldn't,
woman-
excuse my French, I couldn't figure out what the F these people were trying to get to.
Now tell him who the woman with the dirty eyeball and the...
Oh,
and
we'll
the
get to
one-
her in a few minutes.
No,
We'll get to her.
John,
All right,
you're gonna
but John,
fall
take
out
it from
this
here.
woman.
I don't know. You get all the kinds of people that think they know what the American history is all about, how our republic was established. Bottom line is, there's nowhere in the Constitution that says we're a democracy. Heaven forbid if we were a democracy. It's bad enough that everybody's voted all this stuff in for themselves, you know, being a constitutional republic. You know, bottom line is that we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and restore the Constitution to its original form and intent, and to live by it, and to do something about these politicians that get entrenched in our government to where you can't get rid of them. I mean, definitely, if there's one thing that I'd like to see done, is definitely nobody can serve more than 2 terms, period. That's it. I don't care what you are. Matter of fact, I don't know, I've told a lot of people...
Yeah, it's not supposed to be a career,
and
right?
I've used this as an example just to show how people are dumbed down. You know, I ask them how, you know, what is the term for a, you know, a Supreme Court justice? And almost invariably everybody will tell you it's a life term. It is not a life term. You can only serve as a Chief Justice as long as you're serving under good behavior. Matter of fact, if you do something wrong the very first day, you're the Chief Justice, you're out of there. So the bottom line is there's nobody that's in there for life.
I actually had the opportunity to ask when we have a governor's council in the Communist Party of Massachusetts, and I actually had the opportunity to ask the governor's council who deals with the judges, and they approve all the appointments of the justices on the state Supreme Court and all the judges in the state, and I asked her why we have judges for life, and she said that judges are appointed for their lifetime provided that they can pass the psychological exam at age 70 and at age 75, and then after age 75 they don't let them serve anymore. They need to resign. They need to resign and or step down and let the governor appoint the next person who is vetted and put into place by the governor's council. The governor's council basically has the last say on who the governor in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts puts up there. They can nominate them, but it's not guaranteed that the governor's council is going to approve this person as a justice or judge in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts because of their views. And unfortunately, this is one whopping communist state, and a lot of leftist judges get appointed, and then we end up with all this tyrannical craziness, and them trying to take away this and take away that and maintain this unconstitutional law and that unconstitutional law. And for crying out loud, we're supposed to be the spirit of America. And if we're the spirit of America, God help us.
Yeah, well, California, is not any better than Massachusetts. Most of the state laws I really don't have trouble with because I'm a states' rights advocate. But when it comes to the federal government, I know that the federal government has it in the Constitution. There's no age limit. Bottom line is if you've done something that is unconstitutional against the United States or anything like that, you're out of there. I don't know what they do with the states. I guess they have the right to do whatever they want. What Ruth Bader Ginsburg or whatever, the last State of the Union speech she gave, she was so drunk out of her mind. She came up with the excuse that she drank a little bit too much at her little dinner. Well, didn't she realize that she was going to be, showing up at the State of the Union address where, she shouldn't be falling out of her seat as a Chief Justice?
Yeah, well, how many glasses of wine did you have?
Well,
2?
One. But
Jesus, I mean, God, John, you and I could stay up all night with a bottle of Jack Daniels and talk politics.
John, personally, I personally sent emails to state representatives, every state representative that I could find that was a Republican or a Tea Party advocate, and I told them flat out, all right, John Boehner included, and I told them, you will not stand and applaud Barack Obama's insane leftist policies. You will not do anything. If you even show up to the State of the Union, all right, you will turn your back in a no confidence vote against the president of the alleged president of the United States, because that is what you do in order to show your contempt for his illegal and unconstitutional policy.
All right, let me give you a little piece here. It's going to last about a minute here. Let me tell you show you the money that goes on here in Massachusetts.
Who has a lot of money?
That's a great question.
Who wants to influence Massachusetts politics?
Do you know the answer?
And I'm very proud to be the president of the Mass AFL-CIO.
During budget debate, 4 state representatives decided to spend time with the union boss.
What it is political posturing.
Right you are. That's because unions can donate directly to state candidates up to $15,000. Individuals can only donate up to $1,000. And businesses are prohibited from donating anything at all. Unions are also among the largest super PAC donors in Massachusetts politics.
Political action committees have poured literally hundreds of millions of dollars into state and federal races.
I don't mind how much money they spend.
Clearly, because all 4 representatives have voted against closing the loophole.
Money.
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 Money?
Money from all over the state, all over the country.
Contact your elected officials and tell them it's time to close the union loophole.
And that's pretty much what it is here in Massachusetts. I mean that's pretty much what it is all throughout politics, all throughout the United States. And John, how many unions are banging down your door?
Well, let me tell you what, and it might sound crude, but it's like farting in a hurricane. The bottom line is that we all know that the unions are mob-based. Matter of fact, my wife worked for the USCW when she worked as it's called the United Food and Commercial Worker. They had where we paid 0 for our medical, 0 for our dental, 0 for our vision, 0 for our prescriptions. We paid nothing for our the orthodontics. We paid nothing. And the reason why we did that was because they were in with the Teamsters, And if you want to put MOB, against any whatever, UFCW, whatever, go ahead and do it because it was accurate. Now, it's not much different than it is today. There's only one way that we're going to be able to fix things. I rallied against it a million times. There's 300 million of us. There's maybe a million of them. They can't beat us. They can't beat us. It's impossible. But who out there has got the intestinal fortitude to get up there and say, okay, we're done with you. We're done with something that's failed. It's not working. Our nation isn't even going to last as long as probably the longest lasting banana republic.
Really?
I mean, Rome lasted 2,000 years. We'll be lucky if we make it 300.
Exactly.
And this 300 years, I don't know. It's getting to the point, just like I was talking to a friend the other day. I have so much metal in me because, my knee was my own fault, but the other metal I got in me, came from an attempt on my life. But the point is, I can't go through an airport now without being, my bell being rung and having them check me out and make sure
You got stripped down to your underwear, John?
What's that?
You
Yeah,
got
really.
stripped down to your underwear.
Yeah, further than that. And the point is, I was wondering, did they think maybe I had a penile implant or something like that? But
Gotta watch out for them horny fat TSA agents.
Not one.
Uh-oh. Did we lose
What
him?
happened? Did we lose you?
Did we lose you? Uh-oh. Internet connection problem. We lost him.
What
Oh,
in the
God.
world
Too
happened?
bad. I'm going to call back.
It's
Come
still
on.
going.
Let's see if he calls back. Let's
John, give us.
Oh,
Oh, here we go.
Let's give him a call back.
Oh.
You there?
You there,
We got
John?
you. It happens up here.
I know.
Yeah, like I said, I won't give up not one liberty or freedom or any of my safety, so somebody can frisk my old grandma down to make sure she's not carrying a bomb in her bloomers. That's got to stop. That's a violation of our liberty, violation of our individual freedoms and liberties. It's got to stop. It's got to stop right now.
It does. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, great guest, presidential candidate for 2016, John Albert Dummett Jr., calling in from California. John, as usual, give your website, your information. Everything is always posted all the time on the Meat and Potatoes page. Go ahead.
Yeah, it certainly is, and folks, this is really important. I can't tell you how important it is. I will answer anybody that writes to me that takes the opportunity to do that. But you can get hold of me very easily. It's just www. D as in dog, U as in umbrella, M as in Mary, M as in Mary, E as in Edward, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, 2016.com. You'll reach me. There's a place you can volunteer. If you want a president that'll get his sneakers on and have a whole 20-foot stack of indictments ready to go after all these people that you want to see in prison, I'll put them there for you. And I'll put them there for life. And a few of them will line up against the wall for good measure. And if you want to do that,
Gotta love that, John. Gotta love that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'd rather see public hangings. But
John Albert Dummett Jr., calling all the way from California, proving once again that Meat and Potatoes is nationwide. John, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much, my friend.
we lost our connection.
That's okay. He knows. He knows. There we go. Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's John.
Yeah. It's sounding more and more presidential as his
As we
odyssey
go
goes
along.
on.